Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for joining me for another video. Today I'm going to take a couple of these napkins and make 8 different cards. This is the September hop for the Card Hoppin group over on Facebook. I will link that below. This month our theme is nature, and the technique is either napkin or collage, so I chose napkin. Now, if you're really into butterflies, I bought these napkins on Amazon and they were less than $4. I think they were $3.50 for a pack of 20, which was a pretty decent price for paper napkins on Amazon. Full disclosure, to get the 8 different looks that we're going to get today, I think it really relies heavily on the fact that the background of these napkins is white. You may be able to use another color that is light, but I think that what really shows through in the different effects just really happens because this happens to be white. Now, these napkins are 3-ply, so I take my time and struggle a little bit to get them pulled apart. Once I get it apart, I go as slow as I need to not tear the top layer. And then the other 2 layers I really did fold and put back in the pack so I can use them as napkins later. I am going to go ahead and adhere this 1 layer of the napkin to a piece of cardstock. I'm using 8.5 by 11 standard cardstock today. You can use a number of different products to do this. Of course, there's Mod Podge. There are, a plethora of types of Mod Podge now. When I was a kid, there was, I think, 1 type. I'm going to be using some art glitter glue today later, but the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a glue stick. I am actually using this Tombow glue stick that I won as part of a giveaway, and this glue stick is pretty cool. I used it just a little bit, and I haven't used a glue stick in quite some time for crafting, but this one in particular was very smooth, and it didn't clump up like I remember other glue sticks doing. And it's probably because I was using subpar glue sticks. I'm not really sure if they've just worked on the glue stick technology, but this was really smooth. I didn't get any lumps or big chunks of glue that came off of the stick. Because I couldn't use my regular paper trimmer for this to cut it down to panel size, I went ahead and grabbed my T-square. This T-square has come in so handy over the past year or so. There's so many projects that I just need a straight line that corresponds with the angle of the side of the paper. And here I just went ahead and made some marks so I knew where the 4 1/4 and the 5.5 were, and I just drew a line and cut them down. Our first look today just uses some distress spray. I'm going to be using Distress Oxide in Peacock Feather and Distress Spray Stain in Gumball. Anytime I use the sprays, I like to put a piece of cardstock in the back to kind of protect the back of my work surface, and also to catch any of the overspray that I can use on other cards later. Look number 2 uses the Brutus Monroe Chroma Glaze in teal. This is a product that is like a paste, except that it is translucent. So it does give that bright blue color, but you can see whatever is underneath it. So I just take a little bit of this and kind of slather it all over with my palette knife. This palette is, or this tool is one from the Distress line. It is plastic, so it has a little bit of a give, unlike a metal one. Now here I did get a little overzealous, and in one or two spots I kept running the palette knife over the area after the napkin was pretty saturated. And so that made the napkin break apart a little bit. Eventually, I was able to kind of get a good layer of the Chroma glaze over the napkin, and the areas that tore, I just kind of put back into place very carefully. Look number 3 uses another shade of the Brutus Monroe Chroma Glaze, only this one is through a stencil. This stencil is pretty wispy. I have two that are alike. One is Echo Park and one is Brutus Monroe, and I'm not sure which one this is, but it just kind of gave a very different vibe. It was very kind of haphazard, very random. So I really felt this look was more about the combination of the napkin and the glaze through the stencil than just accentuating the napkin itself. Now look number 4 uses the Sizzix Luster Wax. This is the first time that I've used this product. It is a paste, well, it's a wax, but it has a paste-like consistency, and it is very sheeny, glossy, and iridescent, so it has a fabulous look. So this one I just went ahead and applied with my finger, and I was very kind of mindful to make sure that I didn't get too much onto the paper so that I didn't have to work very hard at getting it off of the paper. But it was really smooth. I just took a tiniest bit at a time and evened it out, thinned it out as much as possible, and continued that until I was done. For the next few, I went ahead and used one of the napkins with 4 sheets of different types of paper. So basically I cut card panels from a piece of copper card, a piece of yellow cardstock, and a couple pieces of glitter cardstock. And I went ahead and used the AdTech repositionable adhesive for this. I just put a little bit on the back of each piece and puzzled them together just like a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and used that to adhere my next napkin to. The board that I'm adhering these to just happens to be a board for rolling out pie crust. But you can use a hardboard or a clipboard or a piece of paper, or even just adhere it to your work surface. Now you can see that right here I'm dealing with a little bit of clumping, but that's because I am adhering this onto glitter cardstock. so it was a little rough and just grabbed that glue stick a lot easier. Now, I'm not a mathematician, but I think we are up to look number 5. This one is just taking regular glue and adhering it right to the napkin with a brush. This is not thinned out at all. This is art glitter glue, so I know that it dries clear and matte. So I just try to work quickly so that I don't get saturated spots of the napkin that I'm still trying to brush over. But you can see that I just put a fairly even coat of glue right across the top. Look number 6 uses some old school Pearl-Ex that I have. This is the Red Blue Duo. I've had this bottle in my stash for maybe 20 years. I just tap a little bit of it into the glue, and then I realize that I need to thin the glue out a little bit, so I just use a little bit of water that I have on the desk there and make a little slurry and adhere that right onto this paper. Look number 7 is the piece that is adhered to the copper metallic cardstock. I first try to use my finger to burnish some of the areas to grunge it up a little bit, but that's not really working. So I went ahead and took my alcohol spray, the mister, and just sprayed it across the top. And then I went ahead and did a little more burnishing with my finger. This first one is the one that I did with the sprays, and you can clearly see the outline of this one. I didn't do a good job of lining it up, but I'm just going to keep it this way. And I just sprinkled all of the little enamel dots all over the place for this one. So there's that. This one is the one with the luster wax. And so you can see the luster there, and that wax base is actually a little yellowy green, which is picking up well there. I think that this is a product that is probably, you know, just for really defined areas, but I like the way this turned out. This next one is the stencil with the Brutus Monroe Chroma Glaze. You can see that that Chroma Glaze is translucent, and I just put a My Favorite Thing sentiment. This is one of my favorite sentiments to die cut and use right now on the front of cards. This next one is the silver glitter cardstock. You can see that the wash that we put on top of it does thin out the napkin enough that you can see some of that glitter underneath there, underneath the butterflies and in the clear areas as well. It is a really interesting look. I like it a lot. Here's the one with the Brutus Monroe teal chroma glaze that was just put right on top. I added some gray enamel dots and again the hello sentiment with the background. This blue is streaky and there are some patches, and I like the way that turned out. It definitely is a different look for me. This next one is the one that is covered with the glue wash that I put the blue pink mica pigment in, mica powder, and I just cut it with the die. This die set is my new favorite thing. It is the shape of my logo, so I was really excited when I saw the set, and it's like $10 for more than 12 dies, I think. So I will show that in another video, but I just put that on a piece of black cardstock and cut that and added some white enamel dots. You can see a little bit of shift when I move it around. So this one looks pretty industrial. Once it was adhered to the copper shiny cardstock, I went ahead and sprayed it with alcohol, just from my mister. And I kind of distressed some of it just with my finger, trying to get some of that napkin to wear away. And so as you move it around, you can see that it's worn away in some areas, and you can also see that I think the alcohol lifted some of the color off of that cardstock, because there are some clearly darker areas here that are more copper on the surface than in other areas. So that's pretty cool. I like it. And this last one is just the napkin on a piece of yellow cardstock. I love yellow and purple together right now, so I just put some purple enamel dots with the Just a Note pink and Maine die. And those are all of the cards that I created. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different looks from the same napkin. The key to being able to do all of these looks, I think, with one napkin is that the napkin has a white background. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell if you'd like to know when I load my next video or when I go live. Don't forget, safety first.